So back out on the weekly on Bitcoin. It looks really strong. We had a little bit of a sell-off, like on the lower time frames over the past like 24 hours. Um, it got bought back up pretty hard. I think a lot of people that I follow are kind of looking at this as more of like a running triangle now, where that might have been the E, and we got something like this playing out, and so this would be very bullish. So when we break this diagonal right here, it could lead to you know the next parabolic move up on Bitcoin, and so that's kind of what I'm eyeing right now because this has just been a kind of a slow grind, pretty much ever since we topped out here at 60. It's been kind of a grind. This is good to see though, because the longer that we just grind up like this, it's just showing that we have more of like a horizontal to vertical accumulation, where it's just slowly making lower high or higher lows, and we're getting ready to break out. And so one of the things that you can look at, like on these higher time frames, is like volatility, like historical volatility, and it can kind of paint a picture for when these are about to turn. Let's see, I'm gonna get rid of that. So the historical volatility, if I go back out to maybe, you can mess around with different time frames, but like when the volatility starts to get low, which the volatility is going down rapidly right now, which tells me whenever it does pick a direction, it's going to be um, explosive in that direction. And so anytime the volatility gets down pretty much in this range right here, there's going to be a big move. And this is on the daily. So anytime we had low volatility, you can see explosive move. Low volatility, started to get movement there, came back down into that range again. Then we had a big explosive move. So you look for these low volatilities, especially in these corrections like this. And so we still could continue to grind a little bit, considering how the volatility is still could come down a little bit. So it could potentially break out here and then grind sideways a little bit more, like this. But I'm really expecting this to break to the upside at this point, as long as it's held up. And just the fact that all the altcoins are just looking super super bullish right now, it's making me think that I just, it's hard to believe that Bitcoin would come down with all the altcoins that I'm looking at that have like really strong patterns. Like Ripple, was one of the weakest coins after the SEC news and everything. This has come back and made like just a very bullish pattern. This is what I posted into the altcoin chat room. That's super bullish. That resistance that has been resistance, here, kind of faked out there. It's resistance there. We came at hit it twice here, and now we're breaking through that. And there's really nothing holding this back. I mean, you got a couple areas. You got this little area right here, which could come up and then retest and have to come back down. But I don't see anything holding Ripple back at this point. With all the bad news that's come out and the fact that it's come back up here, I mean, there's really nothing holding this back for me to go parabolic, um, just from a technical perspective. And so there's a lot of looking at the other big ones. We got Ethereum, which just looks crazy bullish with that weekly close that broke out of this bull flag after retesting the all-time high. So anytime in the past that we've uh, done this, this kind of looks like the altcoin chart. So altcoin market cap. So you can see like when we did this in the past, it led to the big move. So retest, all-time high, and then crazy move. So kind of done the same thing here, all-time high, retest, and now we're gonna go parabolic, and that's kind of what everybody's looking at, and that's what I expect for this to resolve, is that it's gonna have to go parabolic here, and most of this is weighted by ETH since ETH is the number one altcoin. And so that's why I'm super bullish on ETH. I closed my hedge short because I was kind of hedged short all throughout this correction right here, just collecting funding, and I got out around 1800. And so I'm just riding this spot, riding the spot price right now with my spot holdings. But with that weekly close, I'm quite confident that this is going to continue up, and I don't foresee Bitcoin going any lower. It just seems to me like this is going to be some kind of running triangle. The volatility is already getting super low, like I just mentioned. So that's telling me that an explosive move is coming. So when it does happen, it's going to move quite quick. I wouldn't be surprised if this doesn't push almost 100% up to 100K over the next 2 months. If this running triangle is going to play out the way that I'm seeing it right now, with the volatility so low, because everything's just reset for this to move, and the altcoins look ready. I mean, Ethereum looks like it could easily go. I think we had looked at this before. The fib-based trend, I can't even say it. Fib-based trend, fib extension here. So you can look at the 2618. I think I have this on log scale. Yeah. So the 1618's been realized. It was roughly at all-time high. A little bit of reactions around that, but went above it. The 2618 to me just seems like the technical high probability target for another parabolic move. Just projecting from this wave right here, this 1, 2, that just seems like where we're going to gravitate to on a parabolic push, and this price action right here just looks like it's setting up for this, and could be a rather short period of time. It's only a 2x move from where we're at currently in price, and so I would not be surprised at all if we don't do something like this in a rather short period of time to realize that 2618, because 2618s are hitting like crazy on other altcoins. So there's no reason for me to think that Ethereum's not going to reach that and potentially go to higher extensions. I don't know about the 3618, but if we pull a fib extension from this low and treat this as like a 1, 2 maybe, then we can maybe give us a little bit of confluence. So we hit that 1 to 1. The 1618 happens to be right on the 2618, so there's a lot of confluence right here at 4400. So that's really what my target's going to be with Ethereum at this point. About 100% move from where we're at currently, and that would kind of line up with some targets on Bitcoin. I think if we do our fib-based trend, God, I can't even say it. What is it called? Fib extension. Pull it from there to there. I showed this last time in the last live stream. We hit the 1618, rejected. Now the 2618 is a pretty big move, which wouldn't surprise me if we hit by the end of the year if this is a running triangle, because the running triangles just signify to me that we're in kind of like some kind of extended 5 wave, because when it breaks out of here it's going to be explosive, and so how high it goes I don't know. Does it just go to like 100, overshoot 100k? Do we push up to the 2618? That's a pretty big push. I mean, that's almost a 200k. So it could still be just the mid stages of this parabola right here, on a running triangle. And so I'm not doing really anything just yet. I'm just holding spot. I'm not really taking any big positions. Ripple was one that I was wanting to open a position on. I was watching it last night. It rejected and came back down to like 69, because when it flips this resistance right here, I don't expect there being too much holding it back. I don't even think that this resistance is going to be too significant. The way that Ripple moves, it just pumps like crazy. You see these, like, it just pumps super super hard. These little pumps, even in the bear market, that pump that we had that get us to that first resistance, then the pump that came to retrace that. I don't expect this to be any different. I feel like it could go almost 100% in a week, and be quite normal for Ripple. Let's see. Not really anything to look at on the lower time frames on Bitcoin. That's why I'm not really looking at it, because it's just squeezing so tight. not really anything to look at. I mean, uh, for anybody that was wanting to buy a pullback, this would have been a pullback to buy right here. Just pulling that, which we didn't get. We only got to the 382. This could still come down one more time on Bitcoin. This looks like a three wave. It still could come down one more time, maybe to the point 0.5, and then we come out of that to break out of this running triangle. So that could be one thing to watch. But I think once it does clear, if it continues to go up here and clears this resistance, I think that's going to be kind of the start of the push. But it would make sense if the volatility that I was showing would come down some more. And so if it did come back down to the point 0.5 and then kind of chop sideways for another maybe week, that would make some sense to let that volatility really come down to where that range was, down here, like I was showing. So going sideways a little bit longer would kind of make sense. And the longer that Bitcoin goes sideways, the more that altcoins are going to pump too, like Ripple, which, like I said, Ripple can go 100% in like 3 days. So really, as long as Bitcoin's just holding up and going sideways, I think any strong altcoin is going to really start pushing the ones that look like they have strong breakout patterns. So that's kind of what I'm watching for right now on Bitcoin. I think Ethereum's pretty much already started moving. I don't think there's anything going to stop it at this point. Since Ethereum started moving and with that weekly close coming off of all-time high retest right here as support, that weekly close out of that bull flag is super strong. So I don't expect there to be much pullbacks. I mean, any pullbacks are for buying right now on Ethereum, in my opinion. Yeah, you can see this is super strong. Um, so this could be like a 1-2, because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves there. So that could be like a 1-2, and now we're in a 3, 4, 5 that's gonna have to come up like this. And so we're only in the first subwave of this third wave. Is kind of the way I'm viewing it right now. And so any pullbacks I'm going to be looking to buy, if we get any kind of retraces, like if this has to come up and make another high like that, and then we get any kind of retrace, really for me, I'm going to be buying any retrace, I think, between the 382 and 0.5, because when it starts trending really hard, you can't really rely on the 0.5s getting hit. You're going to get these shallower retraces. So if we do get something like that on Ethereum, that's where I would probably be getting in a leverage position. Because so far we haven't even gotten a pullback. I mean, it's just breaking out of this diagonal resistance and just started pushing. So I'm going to hope that we get a little something like that where I can get a leverage position going, because I don't really want to buy an impulse. I rather have, just like I showed in all the other live streams, these impulses, they kind of move in channels, real steep channels, and then once they break down, you get like a counter trend correction of that move, and that's where you really want to get in. But I'm not going to be looking for the 0.5. I'll probably be getting in at 382, because I think it's just going to be, retraces are going to be shallower and shallower for altcoins and like Ethereum, because I think it's just going to continue to push and really start to create this parabolic move. Where did looks like my Elliott wave went away. So I'm going to be looking to get in on a 382 pullback as soon as something looks like it's topped out on an impulsive move. And at that point, really, I mean, I'm just going to hold, because if it's parabolic, it shouldn't come back to revisit any internal retrace like this of a move if it's going to continue higher parabolically. So I can actually get in with a pretty good, idea of where my stop should be, maybe below the 618, because if it's going to be super bullish, you don't expect it to really even go to the 0.5. And then just target, as I was looking at, I mean, really, I could hold this all the way almost for 100% move, because I think that I really do think that 2618 will get realized. That 2618 there at 4400, and so we'll get that pullback. Hopefully, we get a push up to there, and then we get one more correction before pushing up. So this is kind of my outlook and my bias right now. So I'm going to be buying any kind of pullback that we get on Ethereum. if for whatever reason Bitcoin did break down, which, that's why you have a stop loss here. So if this does pull back and we get our entry, like I was showing on that impulse right there, then you have your stop loss there. So if for whatever reason this is only just a three wave and this is still corrective and it's going to make like a expanded flat type deal, which I don't really see this happening because Bitcoin, you know, just the way this looks on the weekly, the way it closed, I don't think that this would happen. But I mean, it could be some kind of running flat to where you would get stopped out if it did retrace this move for that entry. So where we have to get maybe some kind of running flat or something like that instead, before this continues higher, which would still be super bullish. It just means that, the only reason this would happen is if Bitcoin decided to correct a little bit. And so we would get something like that. But I'm not going to bank on that. I'm going to bank on this giving us that pullback that I was just showing right here because of how strong the weekly closed. So I'm still going to be looking for, whoops. So if this makes another higher high like this, and then comes back down to here, that's where I would try to get in on the 382. And if I get stopped out, I get stopped out. I'll just get back in a little bit lower because, eventually you're going to catch this because I really fully expect Ethereum to go 100% to this 2618. I have pretty high confidence in that at this point. Let's see. I don't know. When you just go to the higher time frames on Bitcoin, it just looks super strong. Especially if this green candle starts to break up above here and get up above that resistance right in here, and we start getting a high time frame like a 3-day weekly up above here. I just think Bitcoin's really going to start moving, and you're going to see altcoins really start moving as well. Are there any altcoins in particular that you guys want to look at? I definitely think it's nearing the time to be exposed, though. Like, I don't think I'm exposed enough actually, and I'm kind of feeling a little bit of FOMO because I'm really just holding spot. I don't really have any like big futures positions open or anything like that. I just feel like we're on the cusp of starting to trend hard again. Um, let's see. VIDT is one that I talked about that I hold. Still expecting this one to be quite strong. Nothing really changed on this on the high time frame. It's just chopping around. A lot of volume coming in, which is what I want to see. I'm expecting this to continue this trend up to about $8. Algo is another one that I'm holding. This one is looking really strong. Just continues to grind higher back to these highs again, really to where this resistance is. So I'm just looking for it to clear that, and there's just really no resistance. I mean, this might as well be like price discovery because this sell off is so quick. I mean, you can just treat that as resistance up there. There's supposed to be a fib extension on this. This is one that I feel pretty comfortable holding. I just hold spot on this right now as well. So the 1-to-1, I'm expecting the 1618 to hit. So about a 3 to 4x move up to there when altcoins start moving. Are there any altcoins that you guys want to look at? I can pull them up right here. Trying to think of any that I've been kind of considering that I haven't got in. Orion. That was one that I was in for a while. I actually got into this one. I got into this one around somewhere right in here before we broke that high because it just looked super bullish. Kind of like Algo, it was grinding up to that previous high, and I looked like it was about to start a third wave push, which is usually the longer wave. And I got most of it out around 15 or 16, so I got out early. I actually missed out on another 2x from there. But this is pulling back now, so I'm kind of thinking that Orn might not be too bad of a buy. They just launched their product. We came back to the support range right in here. I was actually planning on buying some right there, but I just forgot about it. So, because this just looks like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm expecting Orn to probably put in another 100%. So, like even from right in here, I just expect this to probably go up some more. You could always wait for some kind of structure like this to break out of. I'm not sure exactly what that'll look like if it has to channel some more in here. But I think once it breaks that corrective structure, I think we'll go another 100% move easily on ORN from everything I've seen with it fundamentally. So I'm kind of keeping an eye on that one as well. Let's see what else is there. Altcoins is where it's going to be at. I really feel like. I mean, as long as Bitcoin's holding up and this plays out right here, and we go higher, you're really going to want to be exposed to some strong altcoins. Doge kind of screwed me over the other day. I got in Doge on that Elon Musk pump, and I ended up getting out of it. Which Doge is still really really strong. Like the thing with Doge is every impulse that it ever makes is like super super vertical. I mean, every pump that it makes is super vertical. Like there's only like 5%, 2% of the time that Doge has been around is what it is when it pumps. Everything else is just corrections and chop. You see, like it chops, chops. Huge pump in a very short period of time, chops. Huge pump in a short period of time, chops sideways, like literally forever, and then pumps again. So that's kind of what we do even on the smaller time frames. It's just the way the token, I guess, pumpability is for Doge. You look at certain coins. Certain coins don't pump very parabolic like Doge. Doge and Ripple and like those kind of coins, the really hypey, uh, cheap coins that like a bunch of retail people want to get in are the ones that usually pump the hardest like this. And so I do expect when Doge is done, it's probably going to put up another leg. It's put up another leg like this at some point. It's just waiting and timing that is kind of the hard part because if you're not real quick, you miss it. It's just like right here, we went sideways. Whoops. We bear flagged right here for a while, and if you waited, even 24 hours, you missed the complete 10x pump. So you just have to be really quick. I've kind of given up on Doge for now. I mean, it does make sense to hold some because I do think that, with Elon Musk tweeting about it and then every other altcoin pumping like crazy, probably in 2 months, that Doge is going to probably at least put in another, 2, 3, 4x. It just the way it's holding up right now, it just seems like any day now it could pump another 2, 3x. So that's another one I kind of keep an eye on just because if it does start pumping, I want to catch it early, and that's what I tried to do right here because I thought that might have been kind of the pump that was going to trigger another move up real quick, and so I wanted to jump in on that, but then it just retraced back down to that moving average. So I just kind of got back out and waiting now and watching it. Are there any altcoins that you guys are watching that I might not be talking about that would be good? I know there's all kinds of Uniswap stuff going on. Like I don't mess around with too many Uniswap tokens at the moment, which I probably missed out on a ton of profit. But I like to try to get in stuff that's got liquidity and isn't gonna like exit scam and rug pull on me. Let's see what else is there. Litecoin. All these bigger ones that I'm looking at are just super strong right now. Like Litecoin is putting in this flag pattern, hasn't broken out like Ethereum yet. We've retested this support. Uh, you know, the push to all-time high is just inevitable for me on Litecoin at this point, and then we'll have to start the process over, kind of like where Ethereum was at. Ethereum's kind of right here, where it's retested its all-time high. So Litecoin is lagging big time, and it's still Litecoin is one of those that's like very accessible to buy for retail traders. So there's really no reason in my mind for people to buy it, just because I don't think fundamentally it's like should even exist anymore. But I guess there's some stuff that I'm missing. I don't know. So I still expect retail people to probably buy it because they think it's just a cheaper version of Bitcoin, and you'll see that pump probably at all-time high. And then if we clear all-time high, retested that, and then maybe go parabolic again. But it's not one that I would really like fundamentally want to hang on to. But it is lagging, and this is a bullish structure, so to me it's kind of an easy buy. I don't know if it gives the most profit potential as other altcoins, but technically it just gives me a very good peace of mind looking at this price structure, knowing that if I got in, like the probability of it going to all-time high is pretty high, which isn't, but it's like a 33% move, so it's not a huge 100% move or anything. But I think if it gets to all-time high, it's going to break all-time high. We'll look at Cake. Yeah, Cake is one that I've been hearing a lot about. I mean, fundamentally, anyway, I've heard that Cake is like got a lot more value than Uniswap um, so far. Looking at the weekly is kind of so. Looking at this structure, it would have been a good time to get in on this diagonal break. I was watching that because that's kind of when I was starting to learn a little bit more about it. I was watching that and I just missed the diagonal break. But this is definitely one that has got room to move. I'm looking at it more of a some kind of weird 1-2 running flat 1-2 3 4. This 4 might not be done yet, and then we have to come up for a 5. The 4 could still be in, still be ongoing here, but fundamentally, and with everything going on with these DeFi tokens and stuff, it would make sense that we have to come up out of here and another 5 waves and potentially go. Let's just see if we can put some extensions on this. If this was a running flat right here, so we've already hit some pretty high extensions like the 3618 for that move, but we can also project from the third wave. And let's just say this was the fourth wave that was in. Do it from right there. It goes from if that was the start of the 2. So that would mean that was some kind of running flat. Just trying to get some kind of idea of where some targets could be. So an extended fifth, well actually the fifth to be an extension would have to go above the 1-to-1 right here, which would be a big move. I mean, that would be almost a 20x move to be an extended fifth wave. And so really, I don't know, I don't really have any like extension targets because there's not a lot of like structure to go off of. But if this was a extended fifth wave, it would have to go above like another 20x move from where we're at. And I do expect this to go higher. I mean, Uniswap is one. If you just look at Uniswap, Uniswap looks like it's got another wave to go too. I was looking at this one, and it to me looks like. Let me take this off. That looks like a 1-2. This looks, all this consolidation right here just looks like a big 3-4. I don't know if it's a running flat or what, but once this does break this resistance, Uniswap is probably going to fly again, 2-3x. Dang it. And so I'm going to be paying attention for that once this consolidation ends and we start to clear this resistance again. And so if Uniswap is looking this bullish and holding up, and it definitely clears there, I would expect Cake to be doing something very similar. Because what is Cake's market cap right now? So the market cap, I wish they put commas in here. 2.7, so 2.6 billion, and Uni is at 16 billion. Yeah, so Uniswap is at 16 billion, and apparently Cake is better so far metric wise than Uniswap. So it's got a pretty decent gap to close, almost 7-8x gap in price for Cake to catch up with Uniswap. So I don't know if the fifth would be extended and give us the 20x, because that would make it much bigger than Uniswap, unless Uniswap takes off and then Cake has to catch up with it after Uniswap went further up. Yeah, I mean, Cake makes a lot of sense. I don't really like the structure. I just don't like getting in on this kind of stuff. I like getting in as soon as we have diagonal, as soon as we have something like a bull flagish looking structure break, especially above the moving averages, I would really like to get in right there. But I mean, as a fundamental hold, it makes a lot of sense to me because I think Uniswap's going to keep pumping. Cake fundamentally, just based on the metrics from what I heard, it gives it a lot of reason to continue to catch up with Uniswap, which is 8x away. And so, um, I don't know. I think I would. It makes a lot of sense to hold Cake. There's definitely nothing bearish about this price action at all. Is there anything else that you guys want to look at? I actually think I might get some Cake pretty soon. I still have some money sitting on Binance that I need to do something with. Yeah, XRP is breaking out. XRP is one that just moves super, super fast once it breaks. If you really tighten this resistance up, which this isn't real time, I'd have to go back to here. Let's look at it on here. Yeah, Ripple is just on the verge of going parabolic. Once we clear these resistances right here, there's nothing really holding it back. I mean, there's no amount of FUD that can bring it back down at this point, I don't think. So, anybody that's shorted in here, they're going to be getting squeezed. So I think there's going to be a big push once we break here. I'm probably going to get some today just to hold because I think that this will probably push, like I said, 100% rather quick. Let's see if we can do some fib extension targets on this. So this is a weird, really weird structure because of all the FUD and everything. So to me, this looks like some kind of really weird overlapping leading diagonal. That's the only way I could look at it. I mean, I don't know any other way to really look at that. And so if I do that, then that was all the big 1-2. It had 5 subwaves that I counted there. And then now we're coming up for the start of a parabolic move that's going to be a third wave, a macro third wave. And so the 1-to-1 brings us back kind of to where the resistance is, which it doesn't show it on this chart, but when we were looking at it here, I think that was, well, no. Yeah, the next resistance was like right up here around 94 cents. So 94 is a little less than that 1-to-1 right there. But you got the 1-to-1 that should get hit. And then the 1618, which would be the high probability, assuming that this is one big 1-2 right here. You would expect the 3 to hit up here. And so that's where I would be expecting, and that would be a new all-time high because I think the all-time high for Ripple is like 380. So I would expect the third wave to get up to there, and I mean that's not very far-fetched at all when you look at altcoins that have gone 10, 20x. Even some of the the larger mid caps have gone 10, 20x. So it wouldn't surprise me at all at this point after it's come out of all this FUD for it to just be explosive. That's why I kind of want to hold some, at least for 100% before I decide to take some profits. But I'll be kind of keeping an eye on this as it unfolds, try to figure out what kind of structure we have. Like the micro count and everything, be looking for divergences, kind of figuring out when I want to sell. Looking at divergences maybe on the daily once this starts to unfold. So I'd be looking for something like this kind of to start to unfold. That's historical volatility. I'm going to have the RSI on there. Yeah, something like this. It comes up, goes down, you get a divergence, then maybe you get another divergence. And so like once we get these multiple divergences, and higher highs in price, I'd probably be looking to sell. So if I'm buying right here as it breaks this resistance, I'm having to stop somewhere safe where you don't have to worry about some kind of scam wick taking you out. This goes to retest once it breaks out, and I'd be looking to take profit once we start running out of steam on a higher time frame like the daily, and we start getting these divergences, or start approaching significant fib extensions. So those are kind of that would be my swing trading methodology right there. If I was getting in on something that looks like it's about to break out and start a wave three, that's how I'd be playing it. Trying to think if there's anything else. Looks super bullish. I haven't really been like really diving into any charts big time, so there might be some out there that I'm missing. I haven't looked at S and X in a while. Yeah, S and X. That was I can't remember. I think I posted this in the altcoin chat. I said when it broke this diagonal, get in with a stop and then target the highs. That one's underway. I fully expect that to happen. S and X super strong. I already missed out on that. I sold everything on S and X around 20. I guess I could get back in roughly at the same place I got out still. Just target here. Maybe even new highs. Because it does look like this has got to be a fifth to finish this. And it could even be an extended fifth. Well, probably not. I don't know. That was a pretty explosive third wave. That just looks like a 1, 2, 3, 4. Like we got a 5. Potentially make another higher high here. So it still probably wouldn't be a good. It wouldn't be a bad time for me to hop back in on that on what I was holding spot since I got out pretty much where it is currently. Let's see. Are there any other ones you can think of? I need to just go through Coin Market Cap and look. I forget like what all is out there at this point. Let's see. Binance Coin is crazy. Wouldn't have expected BNB to be like number 3 market cap. Doing a lot of stuff right. Yeah. It's hard to buy into something like this. You really want to get in once the consolidation is breaking to get the best risk to reward. When you're getting in something that's already pushing into an impulse, it gets a little harder to do, and that's where you have to take lower time frame trades and keep your targets kind of realistic because you could end up getting stopped out. The only time I'm taking higher time frame trades is if we're completing a consolidation as we were right here. So once we were breaking out there, I would take a high time frame trade on that. Once we started breaking and showing strength to get above this resistance, I would have taken a high time frame trade. But once this starts to unfold, it's kind of hard to take a high time frame trade with a decent stop because you could always get a pullback like this, something that could stop you out with a tighter stop. Whereas I could get in right here with a tighter stop on that break. So once this is already in an impulse, you kind of have to go down to the lower time frames and get structure on the lower time frames that you can have tighter stops on. So something like whenever this starts trending really hard, a lot of these diagonal breaks lead to uh, lead to your breakouts that you can play. See how all these diagonal breaks that you can play on these. Once you're trending hard on the high time frames, go to like a 4 hour or something like that. Look for these diagonals when they break, and those are the best longs to enter because then you can have a tighter stop. So if you got in on that breakout, you have a really tight stop there. Then you can target. You can really just have a trailing stop, like follow some kind of moving average, or wait for divergences to show up. Like I was talking about earlier, like you could have. Let's just say you got in. Let's just say we got in on this one at a tighter stop. Then we have kind of like a trailing stop for when a divergence forms. So the divergence hasn't formed yet. We're still pushing higher. I mean, I guess it technically has, but we haven't rolled over. So we have that high that we would have, that was the high that we came right before we would have entered. And now we're making, so far, it's a lower high on the RSI but a higher high in price. So once it starts to look like it tops out, you might even have to go to an even lower time frame to see when this looks like it's going to start running out of steam. And then you have it like a trailing stop, and you see you get really good risk rewards that way in these strong trends. And so that's kind of how I play these breakouts on the higher time frames when I'm trying to catch these swings on the parabolic moves. I look for these diagonals to break. You want it to be holding 21 EMAs on whatever time frame you're looking at. This is the 4 hour, so it's holding the EMAs. Has a nice diagonal resistance that it breaks. That's a good entry. It has a nice explosive move. Get a little bit of a diagonal retrace, holding above the moving average. Another impulsive move, and then this one goes sideways. You break out, retest, explosive move. So I would be looking for this trend to continue if it decides to do something like that again, to break, and just keep playing these diagonal breaks like that. I'll be doing the exact same thing on Ethereum and Bitcoin whenever they break out, when they start trending really hard. Ripple's the same way. You know, when Ripple is, go to a 4 hour on Ripple, and once this trend gets underway on Ripple, especially when we break here, and Ripple does something like this, if it does that, you definitely want to be behind that breakout right here. I mean, it's just the easiest buy. You know that on the higher time frames we're about to trend really hard. So on these 4 hour, 2 hour, whatever, be looking for these diagonals like this, resistances, and be buying those, because they're going to work out. They're going to work and work and work until the parabolic move is done, and then then you start having false breakouts. Then they start breaking out and then breaking down. But at the beginning of these parabolic moves, these just work. They don't pull back much at all. They just break out and start ripping. And so you want to get into them, have your stop kind of tight like that, and then just have a trailing stop based on divergences, maybe on the same time frame or a little bit lower time frame. And so you'd be looking for, something. Let's just say this comes up like this, and then resets, and then breaks out. And then when you get the divergence right there, lower, higher highs, lower highs, and you can take some profit right in there on that breakout. And so you get really good risk rewards in these parabolic moves. So that's how I'm going to be playing that. I'm going to be watching this closely. I haven't been trading very much just because there's not anything trending really hard. We still have a decent amount of chop, especially on Bitcoin and Ethereum. But once these start trending and we start getting these big impulsive moves on the higher time frames, these are really the day trades you want to be making, the intraday or multi-day swing trades you want to be taking, because they're just going to work out much higher probability in these strong trends. God, that just looks so bullish. I mean, the longer you look at charts, I've been watching charts for like 3 years, and you can look at certain things and just know it's about to rip. And Ripple really does look like it's about to rip. I mean, it could always go sideways a little bit longer, but Ripple is going to rip at some point. If there's nothing else you guys want to look at, I might just end it. We've been going like 48 minutes. Got the recording on here if you joined late, if you wanted to kind of see other things that I talked about. But um, if there's not any other coins you guys want to look at, there's not too much to talk about. I mean, I'm just really bullish on altcoins right now, and especially as long as Bitcoin's going sideways. I'll just pull Bitcoin back up again. But Bitcoin looks really bullish as well, with this running triangle looking pattern that we're putting in. I'm just waiting for this to break right here, and I think we'll really see altcoins start taking off. Is that the ticker? Wazir. Oh, there it is. We go out to a higher time frame. Yeah, see, this is, it's really strong. This is one of those where it's hard to get in now on a on a swing trade. It's hard to get in now on a swing trade on a higher time frame because of how much it's ripped. It's one of those where you have to go the lower time frame, like I was talking about with BNB, something like that that's already moving a lot. Because this is very strong. It would be really easy to go down to a 4 hour and play all these diagonal breakouts. See how this is working? We look at the higher time frame, like the 3 day, 1 day or 3 day, and we see that wow, this is a very strong impulsive move. So what we're wanting to do is go down to like maybe a 2 hour or 4 hour and look for every pullback that we get to the 21 week or the 21 EMA and be buying all these diagonal breaks. Anytime we have a diagonal break, especially once it starts to kind of attack the previous high, that's the time to be getting in because they're just not going to pull back in these strong trends. So you get that. Now what we'd be looking for, what I'd be looking for is this could give us a little bit more of a longer correction. So I'd be looking for something like this now. And then you get that break, you buy that one, and you just keep riding it up. And you have your oops. I keep getting rid of my RSI. Damn it, that's not what I wanted to do. Oh, there it is. Yeah, so we're getting a divergence already. So really, anybody, if you're getting in early right here, you'd probably already be trying to take some profits because between these two extremes right here on those highs, you do get a divergence. So if for whatever reason you did get in on that one, that'd be the signal to start taking some profit. Once it starts to chop after it's making higher highs in price and lower highs in RSI, you'd be looking to start taking some profit off. But if this goes to repeat and this RSI continues to chop and reset some, and during this correction and it breaks out, if you got in right there with the stop, maybe below this stop below like this range low. So have your stop maybe down here, and then have it running trailing. Well, that's a pretty big 27% is pretty big distance for your stops. You might want to try to figure out how you can tighten that up on a lower time frame with some structure. But if you got in on that, you'd be looking for the RSI to come up and then start doing something like that, and then give you another divergence, and that would be your signal to kind of get out. And at that point, the price could look something like this. So you'd be getting out on that higher high, but the lower high in RSI. So you have your trailing stop kind of like that, and that's how you can play these lower time frame like the 4 hour in these strong parabolic moves and keep your risk managed. That's the way that I would play it, because you don't want to just blindly buy in when something's pumping so hard on like higher time frames. You do want to wait for this structure to form and get in so you can set your stop and manage your risk. And then divergences is one of the better ways for me to figure out when to start taking some profit, because you never know like how high it's going to actually go unless you have a lot of conviction fundamentally on it. If you're just trading technically, you kind of want to use like divergences or something like that, some kind of momentum indicator showing that the trend's kind of losing strength and you're going to go sideways, and that's the best time to take profit. And then just look for something else that's giving you another setup. You don't have to be married to one coin. You can jump around from coin to coin. Just look for the ones that are trending hard and go down to these time frames and look for those patterns to form. That's really the best strategy to do during these parabolic moves, because what will happen is coins are going to be pumping left and right. They kind of, it starts with the larger caps and then goes to the mid caps and then smaller caps. And so sometimes you have to be a little bit patient as well. You don't want to hop around too much, especially if you don't have a strong strategy like this to where you can hop around and trade these efficiently. Sometimes it's better to just sit on whatever you are holding that you have conviction on and not try to play all these different coins that are popping off if you don't feel comfortable doing that, because eventually the coin that you have conviction on that's strong fundamentally is going to pump. So it helps to wait if you're not comfortable trading these lower time frames and trying to catch these intraday or multi-day swing trades. Saw a couple other people join. Is there any other coins that anybody else wants to look at? I got the recording going, so if anybody joined late, they can see it when I upload it here in about an hour. Digitex, it's one I haven't looked at in a while. Still hold Digitex. Let's see. Okay. Digitex is a very interesting chart. Yeah, Digitex is, well, it's gotten back above this resistance right here, so that's a good sign. When it rejected right there, I just thought this was going to be kind of like a, just a fake out pump, and it would just kind of die back down. But yeah, it's gotten back above resistance. I still hold some Digitex that I have on the exchange. I've just been trading on Binance, but uh, I don't know. Digitex, I mean, spot market doesn't really have that much liquidity for anybody that's wanting to trade like bigger size on altcoins. So if you're just dabbling with like a smaller trading account and you want to mess around, I guess Digitex will be an option. But it's on, the exchanges that it's on really aren't that great. And I guess fundamentally, I've changed my perspective on Digitex a lot. So I'm not as like fundamentally bullish on it anymore. And so I just don't really mess around with it at all, trading wise. But it is above resistance, and so that's a good sign. I don't think it's worth trading. You can't trade you can't trade futures on this for the spot Digitex price, um, and it just doesn't have that much liquidity. So I prefer to trade altcoins that have more liquidity. But it does look good. I mean, it is above resistance, so that is a good sign. If it goes back to range highs, I'd be really surprised. If it goes back there again for the fourth time, I mean, this would be like the craziest chart in crypto, I think, if it did that. Well, I think that's going to be it if no one has any other coins I want to look at. I see you typing Rohit, so I'll give you a second and see if you're asking for something. Yeah, definitely. I mean, Adam's already persevered with Digitex. There's no doubt. I mean, to still stick with it through all this, I definitely think he's made a lot of bad decisions, and he's not the best project manager or even CEO, but he has stuck with it longer than I would have ever thought. Um, so there is something to say for that. I just don't know. Fundamentally, I'm just not like that thrilled with Digitex anymore. I don't know, the more that I've used other futures exchanges and all the different tools that are out there now, it's like the ladder interface doesn't really have that much appeal to me anymore. The zero fees and the token economics just won't work, I don't think, without a stable coin. And it's just kind of lost its luster with me. But I did enjoy trading on there when it was in its prime. So just to recap on Bitcoin, I'm just looking for this diagonal to break. I think Bitcoin will start really moving once we break this diagonal because it's really looking like a running triangle right now. And E's very typically undershoot and don't make it to the bottom trend line, especially in running triangles. And so if the E undershot right here, then we would be expecting this move to get underway. So that's currently what I'm looking for, and it would make probably a good bit of sense if we broke the diagonal to get in right there with a stop below that E low, and then have your trailing stop with the same methodology as what I was saying. Wait for the divergences to form on these higher time frames before you start scaling out of your position. Alright guys, thanks for joining. It's 11 o'clock. I'm going to post the recording, so if you joined late and you wanted to see what I talked about at the beginning. So I'll see you guys Wednesday.